Good evening. We are proud to have with us tonight Bobby Langendorfer, KO4CRM. Bobby is the assignments lead for amateur radio operators supporting the Marine Corps Marathon this October, and he is here to tell us more about it. Thanks so much, Bobby, for taking time to join us tonight, and now it's over to you.
So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys having me and being willing to listen to what I believe most of us already know is one of the most important things we can do as amateur radio operators, and that is volunteering our skills in order to serve our community. So as Alex, your club president, introduced me, I am the assignments lead this year. I've also been placed in the assistant SPO position. So what that means is I'm the person at the end of the day who is sitting there going, man, I wish we had just five more people. And hopefully, after today, you guys may choose to be one of those five additional people to help fill those roles. So the Marine Corps Marathon is one of the largest marathons in the world. Uh, it was first raced in 1976 and is known as the best marathon for beginners. The Marine Corps Marathon is the largest marathon in the world that doesn't offer prize money, earning its nickname the People's Marathon. Anyone can enter. There is no minimum per mile requirement, uh, uh, unlike a lot of the Boston or New York marathons where you have to qualify previous to running it, which does lend to a little more risk for the Marine Corps Marathon office and the organizers. There are no government funds used, and the MCM organization is self-financed through entry fees and sponsorships. The Marine Corps Marathon is run through Arlington and DC. There's approximately 30,000 runners that run the marathon between the 50K and the 10K. And this year's marathon is, of course, the last Sunday in October, October 27th. This is just a snippet of the projected course. There are going to be a few changes. We don't have the final course map, so this is what last year's map looked like. It's going to look very similar, but as you can imagine, with everything in DC, things change. There's traffic and construction that's going on, and that's going to change the course just a little bit this year. But as an example, this is what you'll see. So you have your portion here in Arlington, you enter DC, and then of course come right back in to finish the race. So we see a lot of our issues along the race course in this last section of the race, the last uh, 5 miles or so. Um, so that we have a lot of opportunities along the course to cut the course down, those we call gauntlets. And last year we exercised just about all of those gauntlets with the heat that was going on. Really made it difficult for the runners. So some of our previous Marine Corps marathon finishers, 1980 Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court Justice, finished in 3 hours, 11 minutes. You got Oprah Winfrey, Dr. Jill Biden, the now First Lady, Drew Carey, the host of The Price is Right, Al Gore, former Vice President, Ted Koppel, broadcast journalist, former host of Nightline, General David H. Berger, the 38th Commandant of the United States Marine Corps. And every year, the Marine Corps Marathon hosts very famous people to run the race. So there's a chance while you're out there, you could be viewing royalty. That's a small joke for those. Uh, Support provided by the amateur radio operator to the Marine Corps Marathon is you are the eyes and ears of the Marine Corps Marathon on the course. You act as a 911 service. That is what the Marine Corps Marathon office calls us, a 911 service on the course. We track tactically significant vehicles and provide real-time tracking of runners requiring medical assistance. An ARO developed a medical tracking application to be used as the MCM aid in med tents, and we successfully demonstrated that tracking application at the Marine Corps Historic Half Marathon just a few mere months ago. And it's really fantastic. I worked with it myself. Um, so currently that backbone runs on Arden, but it also can be backed up by the internet. So we have hotspots that are provided by the Marine Corps Marathon. It can be run on that. And the goal is to eventually also provide an application on the Marine Corps Marathon provided laptops that will allow it to be run over packet radio as well. So trying to get all of the potential that we as amateur radio operators can provide, and the plethora of challenges that we see in the DMV, the Northern Virginia area, especially in the capital region. Provide logistical communications for aid and medical stations, provide a back channel of information for the commanders, and provide backup communications for medical and race operations center. APRS tracking of tactically significant vehicles. So the race lead vehicles, we track a couple of those, as well as tail end Charlie, or the last vehicle around, which is always, as amateur radio operators, after being out there for 8, 10, 12, or even 15 hours, we're always happy to see exactly where that vehicle is so we can pack up and go home. A fully staffed amateur operating team requires about 150 operators. So as you can imagine, we have a lot of clubs in the Northern Virginia area, yours being one of the most significant. And without your help, we cannot make this happen. So 150 people, it's not small bananas. Who sees what the amateur radio operators do? And that's, of course, the Commandant of the Marine Corps. Officers and enlisted personnel for the military branches, the Marine Corps Marathon Operations Planners. Includes the amateur radio section. Media using the Marine Corps Marathon Media Guide. They are all made aware of what we as amateur operators are doing out on the course, as well as members of Congress and staff as runners and spectators. Nearly 200,000 runners, family, friends, TV audience will see hams along the course. So your role is significant, and it's very important that we are able to staff the entire course. So this is just, I like to call this the web of communication. This is how things happen along the course. So all the information comes back to net control, who will then disseminate that information either to aid stations, the Marine Corps Marathon Command Operations Center, Unified Command, which also monitors the APRS tracking, as well as has access to the Arden Internet uplink at the Iwo Jima Memorial. So very big web of information. So we need 150 amateur radio operators to fully staff the Marine Corps Marathon, a minimum of 110. So that's a pretty monumental task if you think of just how many people are actually amateur radio operators, and these days are volunteering. So your help is needed. Last year, we only had 112 complete the full registration process. We had 103 show up on race day. So fell just short of the minimum, and we still provided a very critical service. Unfortunately, it is still a two-part, sorry about that. Somebody using a digital mode on my local repeater. It is still a two-part sign-up process. So I know that that's sort of a struggle for everyone, but unfortunately, you do need to complete both parts of that sign-up process in order for us to be able to assign you. Now, we say that's a monumental task to get 110 amateur radio operators, but the Boston Marathon, which probably has one of the most significant examples of how amateur radio operators can provide critical communications in the event of an emergency, they utilize over 300 hams to complete their task. Most positions require only a dual band, 144 or 440, so VHF, UHF, FM, handy talkie with a good antenna, plus, of course, adequate batteries to operate between 8 and 12 hours. Few locations may require more power, antennas, higher capacity batteries. Few locations may have to hike in. There's very few of those locations that at the most you may have to walk 100 yards. Most of the time, parking is not that far from your location. However, there are some locations, and based on your physical abilities, you may be assigned to one of those locations where you have to walk a little bit further, and we can do it. Many deployment options. So whatever your commitment is, or whatever you think you can commit, we have options in order to assign you. 3 to 4 hours, usually mile markers 1 through 5. That's about all you have to do. Mile markers 6 through 20, you're looking at 4 to 8 hours. And of course, 21 through 26, it could be a 10 to 15 hour day, depending on race conditions. Now, what do you get from the Marine Corps Marathon? First, you get a learning experience and the experience in operating by knowing both how to prepare yourself and your supplies, select and prepare your needed equipment, set up under new and real conditions, operate in directed and multi-channel nets, operate in large mass casualty events, work with served agencies and representatives, prepare and send information needed by first responders, set up, operate, and take down safely. And oh, by the way, the Marine Corps Marathon Office provides you with a really nice shirt to take home. Now, I want to highlight a couple things on this list. And there are a couple things that I think are pretty important for all of us. We talk about preparing yourself and your supplies. This is a great opportunity for you. I think a lot of us have a go kit, or a kit that we will rely on in the event of an emergency, right? So this is a good opportunity for you to grab that kit, test it out, make sure that everything that's in there is serving its need, is providing the communication support that you need. All right, as well as being able to prepare your own self, both physically, mentally, and with your proper clothing and equipment to survive without being able to get back to your car for a little bit, or without being able to have the comforts of air conditioning for just a short period of time. So being that we're out there in all of the elements, regardless of what they are, it's a great opportunity for you to give that a shot. Make sure that you're prepared to be the best support you can be to your community in the time of need. Now, this is how you volunteer. This is, so they say, how you make the money. You volunteer first by signing up with the Marine Corps Marathon as an amateur radio operator at marinemarathon.com. And then, of course, with us, the amateur radio operator leadership group at hamvolunteers.com slash, and this does not say that, but you go to hamvolunteers.com slash MCM. That'll give you a direct link to the page that we've created specifically for the Marine Corps Marathon. And there will also be the link to marinemarathon.com. But anyways, either way, you get to marinemarathon.com. You sign up as an amateur radio operator. That lets the Marine Corps Marathon Office know who you are and gives them the opportunity to make sure that their liability insurance is covering you on the race course. And then Ham Volunteers, that's where you're going to put all of your pertinent details in, the equipment that you have, your physical capability, maybe even a preference as to where you'd like to be on the course, so that I know exactly where I can put you based on the equipment and the capabilities that you have. Both signups are required. If I don't have both of them, if we don't have both of them, then we can assign you. So your help in signing up in both locations is greatly appreciated. Now, finally, just a few of the images that you might see out on the course to hopefully get you pumped up to volunteer and help us out. Yes, this gentleman found time somehow to propose to his significant other. I'm impressed by that. I would be focused on running, but I'm also a larger fella, so getting down there is my challenge in the first place. All right. And that bottom right image is what it might look like at an aid station. You could have your little setup there. Looks like a bit of an older photo from us, but that is what it could look like for you. All right. Now, finally, I'm going to give just a short moment for our SPO, Scott Larimer, to say a couple words and cover any spaces that I might have possibly missed. Scott?
Yeah, thanks for having us here tonight. Yeah, I appreciate Bobby doing this presentation for us. I've been going through some medical issues. I was actually just released from the hospital today, so it's been a fun couple weeks. But yeah, the Marine Corps Marathon, it's a great event. The Marine Corps has affectionately dubbed us the cockroaches of communication, because when all other communication fails, ours is still up and running. They give out 900 megahertz radios to a lot of the Marines. They have cell phones out there, and routinely they fail on race day. Their networks get overwhelmed. Cell phone networks get overwhelmed. But yet the amateur radio network continues to operate. Last year, with the heat and humidity that was going on, we played a critical role in helping to keep things safe. And we had a couple extremely close calls last year, some very critical heat casualties that luckily everyone did survive, but it was some rather close calls that amateur radio played a significant role in making sure that they got the care that they needed and everything was done for them that we could. So it's, you get to have fun, you get to meet new people, you get to work with people, but it's a very critical role that you could play a significant part in helping to save somebody's life by just picking up your radio and relaying information to get them the help that we need. And that's our primary reason for being there. All the other nice, fun stuff is great. I mean, you get to see a lot of weird things. I mean, you see a guy there carrying a table. He wanted to set the Guinness Book of World Record for carrying a table in the marathon and completing it under a certain time, and he actually set that record. Every year we have somebody at the marathon who's trying to set some type of world record. So it is a fun race. It's a relatively easy race to do, an HT with a decent antenna, and you're able to do probably 90% of the positions on the race. So it's a great event. I guess Bobby and I'll take any questions that you have.
So I have a question.
Certainly.
So is there prior training to this? I mean, do we show up somewhere and kind of get an understanding of what the role is at what positions and so forth?
So
Absolutely. Great question.
yeah,
Go ahead,
so
Scott.
we just released the first of two operators guides for any of you who've done it in the past. We've completely revamped our operators guide, rewritten the whole thing from scratch. The first one was just released, and then we'll be releasing, which is more of a generalized guide. And then there'll be a second one released closer to the marathon that has, we're calling it our tactical operations guide, which has more last week day of details. But then we have an all hands training session, which just got confirmation that we were able to secure the Armed Forces Retirement Home that will be the second Saturday prior to, I'm not looking at a calendar right now, so I don't have the exact date, but the second Saturday prior to the marathon at the Armed Forces Retirement Home. We generally go from like 9 to 1, and it's a training event. It's a social. So the people that you would be talking to on the other end of the radio, you actually get to meet them in person. So we'll kind of go through everything. Shelley Weinstein, who is the medical lead for the Marine Corps Marathon Organization, she'll be there and give a presentation on the marathon itself and the medical side of it. So it's your opportunity to kind of get an in-person training session.
Fred?
Yeah, thanks. I was just also curious. It's been a while since I participated. I've had medical issues. But they used to also at the all hands meeting, the training session, also have the software available and the ability to program most of the participants' radios with the proper frequencies. Is that also planned to be true this year as well?
Yes. So at the all hands meeting, we do offer several hams do bring out computers. It's entirely optional. I usually bring mine out with Chirp software. And as always, the frequencies and the coordination of that will be published previous to that event as well. So you can prepare for that as well. Yes.
Yeah, so we do plan on offering programming support, and there will be a CSV file that can be used with Chirp or imported into other programming software. We're actually working on that now. We've pretty much finalized our frequency plan for this year already.
And the date for that all hands training is the 19th of October.
So typically what you do traditionally is you have a check-in about 3 o'clock in the morning near the Pentagon parking lot. Are you going to do that again this year?
Yes, so check-in will be at the Pentagon parking lot. It's near the Pentagon parking lot. I believe
it's on Army Navy Drive.
Yep.
It'll be in the parking lot on Army Navy Drive. It generally opens at 2, and Bobby, remind me, we closed it at what, 4:30 last year?
Yes, we closed it at 4:30. Most of the operators had come and checked in previous to 4 o'clock, so that last 30 minutes was pretty much just us closing down, which I was kind of grateful for. But yes, and then we do a net check-in right about 5:30, and that's when you should be on station and prepared to operate.
And that check-in at the parking lot on Army Navy Drive, that is where you come and you pick up you pick up your Marine Corps Marathon issued amateur radio safety vest, which you'll turn into an amateur radio operator in the sweep vehicle. You'll get your wristband, which is part of your credentials to get onto the race course. They'll give you a packaged lunch, and then that is where you'll also pick up your t-shirt, and then any last minute directions that we may have for you, we'll provide them there.
I know one year when I was doing it, the police closed off the roads a little too soon. So it was a lot of back road driving trying to get to that parking lot, because that's across from Pentagon City, right? That's that parking lot there. And what's the coordination going to be this year? I hope they're not good, because I was out there like at 3:30 and a lot of the roads were closed already. Trying to get to the Pentagon parking lot was a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting better with the coordination. We're right now that same parking lot on Army Navy Drive is the plan. For now, we're going to be paying close attention. There's construction that's going on that's supposed to be completed or halted and not impacting that parking lot as part of the HQ2 for Amazon there. So we'll make a determination if we have to move from that parking lot a little bit closer to race day. But right now, it's still the plan to use that parking lot. And what Arlington has told us is that those roads should be open on race day.
Great, great.
The other thing that I will add to that is it honestly, it never hurts when you come across one of the roadblocks, when you have your credentials, to explain what you're there to do and see if the police officer that's there can help give you advice on where to go, or maybe even can get you past the barricade to get to where you need to go. I have found, at least in my experience, that they all know about us. They're there for all the same meetings Scott and I are there for. So they all know about us. They all know what we're there to do. They want to make it just as easy for us to get around and provide the service. Sometimes it just takes being a little forward and saying, hey, I've got to get just over there to do my check-in, and they might let you do that. Or what I found in the field was, hey, my position is mile marker 6. You're here at mile marker 4. Do you mind if I go through the course well before the course is closed and exit out the back side, where I'm parking a mile from my location, as opposed to, or 200 yards from my location at that particular instance, as opposed to parking, over here where I have to walk 2.5 miles. And they were fairly accommodating to that, understanding that I already had my credentials and I already had my vest and everything. I was looking rather official. They were expecting me. So it never hurts to ask the question. And then if there is an issue, speaking to net control, either over your radio or through the talk-in, gives us the opportunity to then communicate with that individual through the race operations center if there's going to be a difficulty that we need to work around.
Great. Okay, any more questions? Okay, well, great. Thank you so much, Bobby and
you.
Scott.
Really appreciate the opportunity to share with your club about the Marine Corps Marathon and the excellent opportunity that we have to support our community. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for taking on this incredibly important mission, and we look forward to working with you. And Scott, all the best, and I hope you heal up soon.
Thank you. They finally figured out what the issue was, so hopefully they've gotten everything fixed.
Good, good. All right, great. Okay, so